Well, the time is just gone 12 minutes past 8 as we kick off this morning, taking a look at a number of issues, both local and global, on news and views this morning. Now, we've learned about the South African National Treasury that has started issuing domestic rand dominated Islamic bonds to raise funding. And we are talking about the Sukuk. And what does this actually mean? Because this country obviously needs money. They need to fund the various projects. We've heard the Minister of Finance, we've heard the State President, Cyril Ramaphosa, talking about raising funding and to address a number of issues and to tackle the major problems that this country is actually faced with. And during the State of the Nation address, we heard the President talk about projects, embarking on projects, the SOEs that needed bailing out. And it is clear that this country just doesn't have money. Now, is this an option for South Africa? How possible is this, or how successful is this issuing of the Sukuk or Islamic bonds to raise funding going to be? We are now joined by Head of Alternate Strategies at 27 for Investment, Werner Opperman. Werner, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning and good morning to your listeners.
Yes, wonderful that you're able to join us. Now, it is clear that this country needs money, Werner. And we've heard it from the President, we've heard it from the Finance Minister, and looking at Islamic bonds or Sukuk as a means for raising funding. Your thoughts, Werner?
I think it's a brilliant idea. As you're aware, last year we listed the first Sukuk on the JSE as 2074. We were oversubscribed. And currently, I've got people calling us constantly looking to invest. Unfortunately, there's no more available. So there's a massive demand for people looking to invest in Sukuk. So there's definitely demand for government to raise assets. But more specifically, what Sukuk makes Sukuk a better option than additional debt finance that governments would normally use is that debt is always backed by debt. There's nothing behind it substantially. Sukuk requires a real asset behind it. Well, depending which one you do, but mostly a real asset. So that means we can actually see where the money is going to be spent. We can see what's the asset going to generate the revenue. So the investor has a peace of mind where the money is coming from, and government should be able to raise capital a little bit cheaper than they currently get in debt markets in theory. So I think it's a great initiative from government.
Yes, just looking at Sukuks and the success of Sukuks, and we've not only seen the South African government, but we've seen Sukuks right across the entire world. And just from your reading, from your experience on what you can tell us about Sukuks, have they all been successful, or to a large extent, has this been quite a successful form of raising funds?
So if we look at South African context, we previously, the government issued a dollar-based Sukuk, I think 2014, for about $500 million. It was again fully subscribed. It worked extremely well. From an S perspective, it was successful. If we step back and we look at the global level, there's been a continuous increase in Sukuk. So we as fund managers do buy offshore Sukuk, which mostly property buyers or property-backed Sukuk, and that's been extremely well. Yes, there was a bit of a bubble in 2020, 2021 because of the people were concerned about the rental potential of the property behind it, but it fully recovered afterwards, and it was a decent return. So in general, from our experience, Sukuk has done extremely well.
Yes, and the fact that this is now a rand-dominated form of funding and a rand-dominated Sukuk, Werner, what does this actually mean for global investors in South Africa?
So if I think about local investors, hopefully the government will do a large issuance in small denominations, so to give access to everyone in the country, and then list it on the exchange, so it's easily accessible via your bank or stockbroker. So then it will a broad investor base, and as a local investor will give you a bit of more diversification in your share portfolio. And then naturally, your financially compliant investments that you funds will also be able to buy these instruments, which should be really liquid. So it will be great for everyone.
And just, I think, from an investor confidence point of view, you mentioned that this is obviously backed by an asset. So from a risk point of view, there's very little risk, Werner.
happens is you would set up a trust. The trust will own the asset for the benefit of the investors. And that asset can be a toll road, it can be a harbor infrastructure, it can even be a new renewable energy plant or being set up, run by a private sector, backed by government. So then you can literally see the revenue being generated from that project, and will pay your Sukuk profit share.
And do we have any information with this Sukuk in terms of what projects are we talking about?
We've got no idea yet, but government probably can look through what they can do. But normally there'll be some property, looking globally what's available, it's normally backed by some form of property as the asset behind it.
Yes, and also just looking at, the president mentioned, spoke about funding. He spoke about the investment in Daba. He spoke about pledges of investment right across the globe, and looking at where we are against an issue that I will be talking after this interview with yourself, South Africa being grey listed. So at this point in time, it does put South Africa in a precarious situation. But again, coming back to the Sukuk, is it aimed more at local investors rather than global investors?
If it's based in a rand denomination, it will attract more investors locally. So we're more likely to tap. And as I mentioned, our local Sharia market is quite large and there's insufficient products available for them. So I think it will be aimed at them. But it doesn't stop global investors to invest in the Sukuk. They can, for example, do Sharia-compliant currency conversion contracts. So they can bring in dollars, convert it to rand, invest in Sukuk. At maturity, get rand back and convert it back to dollars or euros. So it's open for anyone.
Well, that's brilliant. And just on a lighter note, hope it's not all those dollars coming out of Pala Pala.
Yeah, true. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, Werner, thank you very much for that. And obviously, we will be watching the space and see how this issuance of the Sukuk actually goes. And I'm sure, as you mentioned, that looking at historically, it's been oversubscribed as well. So I think what is going to be absolutely critical is the projects that they're going to be used. What is the asset that is actually going to back the issuance of the Sukuk? And that we will be watching quite closely. But for now, we thank you for your time and have yourself a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. All the best to your listeners.
Werner Opperman also is the head of alternate strategies at 27 for investment. Now, this is a medium that the South African government is looking at. They're looking at Islamic finance, and we know that Islamic finance throughout the entire world has been largely, in fact, very, very successful. And even during the time of the financial meltdown, the best performing products were Sharia compliant products. And once again, it is not about speculation. These are asset-based. It is something concrete. And we will try and get another expert on Islamic finance just to delve in a lot more detail and to understand why Islamic finance has been so successful right across the entire world. The time is just headed for 8:20. We are going to go for a quick break. And when we come back, we will be focusing on the grey listing of South Africa.